To live in the world without becoming aware of the meaning of the world is like wandering about in a great library without touching the books. Man's status in the natural world is determined, therefore, by the quality of his thinking. It was apparent that materialism was in complete control of the economic structure, the final objective of which was for the individual to become a part of a system, providing an economic security at the expense of the human soul, mind, and body. Though the modern world may know a million secrets, the ancient world knew one, and that was greater than the million, for the million secrets breed death, disaster, sorrow, selfishness, lust, and avarice. But the one secret confers life, light, and truth. The criers of the mysteries speak again, bidding all men welcome to the house of light. The great institution of materiality has failed. The false civilization built by man has turned, and like the monster of Frankenstein, is destroying its creator. Religion wanders aimlessly in the maze of theological speculation. Science batters itself impotently against the barriers of the unknown. Only transcendental philosophy knows the path. Only the illumined reason can carry the understanding part of man upward to the light. Only philosophy can teach man to be born well, to live well, to die well, and in perfect measure, to be born again. Into this band of the elect, those who have chosen the life of knowledge, of virtue, and of utility, the philosophers of the ages invite you. Plato defined good as threefold in character: good in the soul, expressed through the virtues; good in the body, expressed through the symmetry and endurance of the parts; and good in the external world, expressed through social position and companionship. Esoterically, the hanged man is the human spirit, which is suspended from heaven by a single thread. Wisdom, not death, is the reward for this voluntary sacrifice, during which the human soul, suspended above the world of illusion and meditating upon its unreality, is rewarded by the achievement of self-realization. Fascinated by the glitter of gain, man gazes at the Medusa-like face of greed and stands petrified. When confronted with a problem involving the use of the reasoning faculties, individuals of strong intellect keep their poise and seek to reach a solution by obtaining facts bearing upon the question. Those of immature mentality, on the other hand, when similarly confronted, are overwhelmed. While the former may be qualified to solve the riddle of their own destiny, the latter must be led like a flock of sheep and taught in simple language. They depend almost entirely upon the ministrations of the shepherd. These little ones must be fed with milk, but that meat is the food of strong men. Thoughtlessness is almost synonymous with childishness, while thoughtfulness is symbolic of maturity. There are, however, but few mature minds in the world, and thus it was that the philosophic, religious doctrines of the pagans were divided to meet the needs of these two fundamental groups of human intellect, one philosophic, the other incapable of appreciating the deeper mysteries of life. To the discerning few were revealed the esoteric or spiritual teachings, while the unqualified many received only the literal, exoteric interpretations. In order to make simple the great truths of nature and the abstract principles of natural law, the vital forces of the universe were personified, becoming the gods and goddesses of the ancient mythologies, while the ignorant multitudes brought their offerings to the altar of Pan, deities representing the procreative energies. The wise recognized in these marble statues only symbolic concretions of great abstract truths. Man's threefold lower nature, consisting of his physical organism, his emotional nature, and his mental faculties, reflects the light of his threefold divinity and bears witness of it in the physical world. Man's three bodies are symbolized by an upright triangle, his threefold spiritual nature by an inverted triangle. These two triangles, when united in the form of a six-pointed star, were called by the Jews the Star of David, the signet of Solomon, and are more commonly known today as the Star of Zion. These triangles symbolize the spiritual and material universes linked together in the constitution of the human creature, who partakes of both nature and divinity. Man's animal nature partakes of the earth, his divine nature of the heavens, his human nature of the mediator. They proved that it was possible to produce beauty in life by surrounding life with beauty. They discovered that the symmetrical bodies were built by souls continuously in the presence of symmetrical bodies. That noble thoughts were produced by minds surrounded by examples of mental nobility. Conversely, if a man were forced to look upon an ignoble or asymmetrical structure, it would arouse within him a sense of ignobility, which would provoke him to commit ignoble deeds. If an ill-proportioned building were erected in the midst of a city, there would be ill-proportioned children born in that community, and men and women, gazing upon the asymmetrical structure, would live inharmonious lives. Thoughtful men of antiquity realized that their great philosophers were the natural products of the aesthetic ideals of architecture, music, and art, established as the standards of the cultural systems of the time. Briefly stated, the true purpose of ancient philosophy was to discover a method whereby development of the rational nature could be accelerated instead of awaiting the slower processes of nature. When the mob governs, man is ruled by ignorance. When the church governs, he is ruled by superstition. When the state governs, he is ruled by fear. Before men can live together in harmony and understanding, ignorance must be transmuted into wisdom, superstition into an illumined faith, and fear into love. The Nordic mysteries were given in 9 chambers, or caverns, the candidate advancing through them in sequential order. These chambers of initiation represented the 9 spheres into which the Dorotars divided the universe, Asgard, the heaven world of the gods. Alfheim, the world of light and beautiful elves or spirits. Niflheim, the world of cold and darkness, which is isolated in the north. Jotunheim, the world of the giants, which is located in the east. Midgard, the earth world of human beings, which is located in the midst or middle place. Vanaheim, the world of the veins, which is located in the west. Muspelheim, the world of fire, which is located in the south. Svartalfheim, the world of the dark, treacherous elves, which is under the earth. And Helheim, the world of cold and the abode of the dead, which is located at the very lowest point of the universe. It is understood that all these worlds are invisible to the senses, except Midgard, the home of the human creatures. But during the process of initiation, the soul of the candidate, liberated from its earthly sheath by the secret powers of the priests, wanders amidst the inhabitants of these various spheres. There is undoubtedly a relationship between the 9 worlds of the Scandinavians and the 9 spheres or planes through which initiates of the Eleusinian mysteries passed in their ritual of regeneration. Hegel further believed that all things owe their existence to their opposites, and that all opposites are actually identical. It is difficult for many to realize that they are actual universes, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. It is evident that infinite diversity is possible, for the countless parts of the universe may be related to each other in an incalculable number of ways, and through the various combinations of these limitless subdivisions of being, infinite individuality and infinite variety must inevitably result. Thus, it is further evident that life can never become monotonous or exhaust the possibilities of variety. The fool lives but for today. The philosopher lives forever. The Great Pyramid was not a lighthouse, an observatory, or a tomb, but the first temple of the mysteries, the first structure erected as a repository for those secret truths, which are the certain foundation of all arts and sciences. The unfolding of man's spiritual nature is as much an exact science as astronomy, medicine, or law. What was knowledge? What was truth, beauty, love, idealism, philosophy, or religion when compared to man's desire to control an infinitesimal spot in the fields of cosmos for an inestimably minute fragment of time? Without the mysterious keys carried by the hierophants of the Egyptian, Brahmin, and Persian cults, the gates of wisdom cannot be opened. The Stoics were essentially pantheists, since they maintained as there is nothing better than the world is God. Man is thus surrounded by a supersensible universe of which he knows nothing, because the centers of sense perception within himself have not been developed sufficiently to respond to the subtler rates of vibration of which that universe is composed. Philosophy invites man out of the vainness of selfishness, out of the sorrow of ignorance and the despair of worldliness, out of the travesty of ambition and the cruel clutches of greed, out of the red hell of hate and the cold tomb of dead idealism. The true subject of Arthur Schopenhauer's philosophy is the will. The object of his philosophy is the elevation of the mind to the point where it is capable of controlling the will. Schopenhauer likens the will to a strong blind man who carries on his shoulders the intellect, which is a weak lame man possessing the power of sight. The will is the tireless cause of manifestation, and every part of nature the product of will. The brain is the product of the will to know, the hand the product of the will to grasp. The entire intellectual and emotional constitutions of man are subservient to the will and are largely concerned with the effort to justify the dictates of the will. Thus, the mind creates elaborate systems of thought, simply to prove the necessity of the thing willed. Genius, however, represents the state wherein the intellect has gained supremacy over the will, and the life is ruled by reason and not by impulse. By initiation into the mysteries and a certain process known as operative theology, this law of birth and death is transcended. And during the course of physical existence, that part of the spirit which is asleep in form is awakened without the intervention of death. This is at once the primary purpose and the consummate achievement of the mysteries, that man shall become aware of and consciously be reunited with the divine source of himself without tasting of physical dissolution.